battles waged in the sky.
The scripture says that Lord Salva's flying craft crashes to the earth.
Weapons with unimaginable power.
According to the Sumerian myths, one planet was completely destroyed.
And evidence of advanced technology thousands of years ago.
Structures themselves are replicas of the machines that our ancestors witnessed.
Accounts of wars among the gods can be found in ancient legends throughout the world. Might these stories really describe battles between alien beings? And if so, are they still being waged today?
I think there's no question that there's a warring faction here on this planet between extraterrestrials.
Since the dawn of civilization, mankind has credited its origins to gods and other visitors from the stars. What if it were true? Did extraterrestrial beings really help to shape our history? And if so, might Earth have been the site of alien wars? London, England, March 19th, 2002. Officers with the British National High-Tech Crime Unit arrest 34-year-old Scottish Systems Administrator Gary McKinnon, charging him with hacking into top-secret Pentagon and NASA computers over a 13-month period. In response, McKinnon goes public, claiming he was searching for government-suppressed information on UFOs and alternative energy. But he says that what he found instead is evidence of an even greater conspiracy.
Without doubt, the most fascinating discovery that McKinnon said he made were files that reference something called non-terrestrial officers. McKinnon talked about how these officers were supposedly assigned to certain ships that began with the designation USSS, suggesting United States spaceships. In McKinnon's mind, he uncovered nothing less than firm proof of a clandestine, highly classified U.S. military space program that ran alongside NASA's regular space program.
Might the United States military really have a secret space program? But if so, why? Are they preparing for a space-based war with other nations? Or other species? According to former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer, U.S. officials are withholding information about their contact with alien beings.
I was privy to a lot of things, and some of it, for me, very frightening, very disturbing. UFOs are real. The United States government had been in contact with them.
In September of 2005, Hellyer made headlines by publicly announcing that UFOs do, in fact, exist. He would later state that it is not just one race of alien beings that is visiting Earth, but many. A claim that is supported by astronaut Edgar Mitchell, the sixth person ever to walk on the moon.
When Apollo astronaut Ed Mitchell came to Toronto soon after I went public, we invited him to dinner. His question to me was, how many species do you think there are? And I said somewhere between 2 and 12. And he said, yes, that's what I think too. What has happened in the intervening years is that the number keeps growing.
I think that just like there's multiple species here on Earth, there are multiple species out there.
I've had insiders that have told me this to my face, that we already have diplomatic relationships with a variety of extraterrestrial species and cultures.
I know, for example, that they have 2 or 3 species of greys. I know that they're praying mantis and reptilians, various sorts. And so these are the sort of the principal ones that we talk about because something you can get your mind around.
Could there really be numerous races of extraterrestrial beings visiting Earth? And if so, are they all part of a unified confederation? Ancient astronaut theorists say no. And some government insiders like Paul Hellyer claim that these different alien species have competing agendas. Agendas that are not always favorable for humans.
I think there is a worrisome situation that we have to look at very quickly, and that is whether or not 1 or 2 of them might covet some of our territory and might, as a result of that, want to reduce the human population. Are they interested in our best interests, or are they interested in their best interests? In which case, we should find out about it before it's too late.
Could the assertions that extraterrestrial beings are at war over the control of planet Earth actually be true? According to ancient astronaut theorists, evidence of such a conflict does exist, and it has been going on for thousands of years. Mumbai, India, January 4th, 2015. The 102nd Indian Science Congress, along with the University of Mumbai, hosts a symposium titled Ancient Sciences Through Sanskrit. The Sanskrit texts that are the focus of the symposium are Hinduism's most ancient writings. Included within them, along with poetry, drama, science, and philosophy, are accounts of great wars between powerful gods who came from the sky.
The great Hindu texts, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and the Vedas, are the ancient wisdom stories of the continent. The stories are vivid and gripping. Many of them have to do with great conflicts and wars. The gods are forever in battle with each other using extraordinary equipment.
For the most part, these stories are, like the epics, filled with cosmic battles. Battles between the gods in the celestial realm dominate Hindu mythos.
At the Indian Science Congress, a number of scientists and scholars make a highly controversial proposal that these ancient Hindu texts, dating as far back as 1700 BC, are not simply mythology, but are accounts of real historical characters and events, and depict advanced technology that truly existed thousands of years ago. Could it be true? It is a question that has been debated by both Hindu scholars and ancient astronaut theorists alike.
The Hindu story of the Mahabharata is loaded with references to what seems to be extraterrestrial technology. You've got flying vehicles. You've got weapons that are voice activated. You have destructions of civilizations by what seems like nuclear detonation.
Hindus believe that these stories are not simply myth, they are historical records because Mahabharata and Ramayana are not called myth, they're actually called itihasa. Itihasa meaning history. For Hindus, these texts stand as historical records of past kings and past happenings that happened long time ago.
Could the Sanskrit texts really contain historical accounts of warfare waged between gods that were physically present here on Earth, as many Hindus believe? And if so, are these same beings in conflict over the fate of planet Earth even today? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest physical evidence can be found in India that proves these accounts are not simply mythology. Dwarka, Northwest India, 1983. Marine archaeologist Dr. S.R. Rao begins a 10-year underwater exploration just off the coast of this ancient fishing town. And what he finds is stunning. Starting at 20 feet beneath the surface of the ocean are sandstone walls, cobblestone streets, and further evidence of what once was a prosperous seaport.
At Dwarka, what has been found so far under the ocean is incredibly tantalizing. For instance, there's this huge wall, estimated about 580 meters long. So this is not insignificant. And this would suggest that this was a sophisticated dwelling area.
Further underwater excavations and geological evidence indicate the ruins are part of a city that suddenly became submerged in 1443 BC. The discovery of these ruins is a major archaeological find. But for some, even more significant is where the ruins were found. For centuries, the modern-day city of Dwarka was thought by many Hindus to be the Dwarka described in the Mahabharata as the ancient kingdom of the god Krishna. According to the text, during the Kurukshetra war, a rival to Krishna, Lord Salva, attacked Dwarka from a flying chariot, raining down weapons of mass destruction that lit up the sky.
He actually flew over Dwarka using his chariot. He started bombarding the city of Dwarka, throwing down all kinds of weapons.
Finally, Krishna employs his own incredible weapon and blows the thing out of the sky.
It says in the scripture that Lord Salva's flying craft itself comes smoldering out of the sky and crashes to the earth. This suggests that there was machines involved in the war, machines that could fly,
Shortly after the Great War, Krishna is killed. And the city, this magnificent city built on land that came out of the sea, sank back into the ocean again. It only existed during the time that Krishna lived there.
Most historians dismiss this War of the Gods as folklore. But could these underwater ruins be evidence that the ancient Hindu texts are based in actual history?
And it seems to confirm the ancient myths, the ancient legends, they have a basis in reality.
Ancient astronaut theorists suggest further evidence can be found at Mahabalipuram, an ancient port city located along India's southeastern coast. According to ancient stories, 6 of 7 pagodas that once stood at Mahabalipuram were lost due to a great deluge sent to destroy the city by the Hindu god Indra. Just as in the case of Dwarka, historians and archaeologists dismissed the story of the missing 6 temples as myth. But on December 26, 2004, a massive tsunami caused water levels to temporarily drop, exposing a number of mysterious-looking formations along the shoreline. Upon closer inspection, they were found to be man-made structures, and quite possibly the ruins of the lost pagodas of Mahabalipuram.
Archaeologists went diving into this area and also found that there was basically a sunken city there. And so this would indicate that the legends are really correct about this place. That, in fact, it was destroyed in some kind of a flood, just as the legend said.
If recent archaeological finds have proven that the city of Krishna and the 7 pagodas of Mahabalipuram really did exist, then might that mean that the stories of these sites being attacked from the sky are true as well? Perhaps the answer can be found by examining the many ancient stone structures of Mahabalipuram called rathas.
All over Mahabalipuram, there are these tower-like structures. They're called rathas. Rathas can be translated with Sky City, House of the Gods, or even Sky Ship.
These are temples, but simultaneously they are seen as being movable vehicles in which the gods can come to earth, can come to the presence of the worshipers. You'll see that there are all these little, they're called kudu. They're little windows that are shaped like horseshoes. And even in those little windows, you'll see peering out the faces of the gods. In many temples throughout India, you'll actually see gigantic wheels added as a motif on the base of these temples, just to remind the worshippers that these are moving chariots.
They were the vimanas of the gods. The stone structures themselves are replicas of the machines that our ancestors witnessed.
Do the ruins off the coast of Dwarka and Mahabalipuram, along with the stone temples and carvings found throughout India, provide a physical record of the advanced warfare described in the ancient Hindu texts? And if so, were these wars waged between opposing factions of extraterrestrial beings? Perhaps further clues can be found by examining the historical records of ancient Mesopotamia. Wittenberg, Germany, 1766. Astronomer Johann Daniel Titius proposes that there is a consistent pattern in the layout of the planets of our solar system, except for one highly unusual anomaly.
The distribution of the planets in the solar system has always been a puzzle. They seem to be spaced out according to some sort of mathematical arrangement, but there's a big gap between Mars and Jupiter. And when you look there today, what we see is the asteroids, lots and lots of rocky fragments.
The discovery led astronomers to conclude that there had to at one time have been a planet between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. And what lies within this gap now is an asteroid belt. Many scientists speculate that these asteroids are the remnants of a world that was destroyed thousands of years ago by some cosmic collision. But according to ancient astronaut theorist Zecharia Sitchin, the destruction of this lost planet may not have been due to natural causes. As evidence, he cited the stories of the oldest known civilization, the Sumerians.
The Sumerian myths point to the idea that there was this phenomenal cosmic battle, that the gods fought amongst themselves across the cosmos, one planet fighting another planet. And that in fact, one planet was completely destroyed during this cosmic battle. And as a result of that, they destroyed their homeworld and had to reestablish civilization on a new planet.
Is it possible that there was once a planet between Mars and Jupiter that was home to intelligent life? And if so, might its destruction have come as the result of an alien war? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest that a recent NASA discovery may provide evidence that the survivors of this conflict took refuge on a celestial body located within the asteroid belt. On February 19, 2015, NASA's Dawn spacecraft sent back to Earth images of mysterious bright lights reflecting off the surface of a dwarf planet called Ceres. While some scientists have suggested that the lights are the result of something natural, like an ice field or escaping gas, higher resolution images have failed to uncover the true cause of the reflections. 4 months later in June, the Dawn spacecraft captured even more incredible images. Images that reveal what looks like a 3-mile-tall pyramid.
These are possibly technological structures. So this brings up the question, is it possible that these were built by extraterrestrials? Instead of looking at the creation myths from Sumer as mythology, maybe this is scientific data that we should be revisiting.
Might further exploration of Ceres reveal evidence that it once served as refuge for the survivors of an alien war? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and claim that according to the Sumerian texts, these warring extraterrestrial factions also took refuge on another planet, Earth. And they propose that stories found throughout the world of gods waging battle in the skies suggest that this otherworldly conflict continued once the survivors reached their new home planet.
All over the world, we're seeing evidence of these ancient wars that took place. They took place in Greece, they took place in Norse mythology, all throughout Mesoamerican symbolism. And consistently, what we're seeing is some sort of battle for control over the Earth.
When you look at many of these ancient tales, it would seem to be that the gods are warring amongst themselves over us.
This lends to an intriguing possibility that we are the descendants of the winners, and that there are certain groups that are pushing for us and really rallying because, in fact, we are their direct descendants. They created us through some sort of genetic engineering. And then there's other factions that want to wipe us off the face of the earth completely, and those wars may still be being fought right now.
Are humans the descendants of a race of alien beings whose home planet was destroyed thousands of years ago? Might the ancient stories of warring gods really be accounts of separate extraterrestrial factions that were fighting for control of the Earth and may still be fighting for it today? Perhaps further clues can be found by examining accounts of modern-day UFOs appearing over nuclear facilities. Sultanabad, Iran, November 2004. The Iranian Air Force scrambles an F-14 fighter jet in response to an unknown aircraft rapidly approaching the IV-40 heavy water nuclear facility. As they close in, the pilots report seeing a luminous object unlike any they have ever encountered. It is spherical and emits a green afterburner. When they try to lock on their missiles, their radar is disrupted by large amounts of magnetic radiation emitting from the craft.
What it was, nobody knew. It was a definitive UFO and exited the area at high speed. What's particularly fascinating and also intriguing and a bit disturbing is why the UFO took such an interest in an atomic plant.
UFOs have also been reported over nuclear missile bases in England and America.
In March 1967, Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana was the site of one of the most profound, amazing, and disturbing UFO encounters of all time. Security personnel described seeing bright lights, flying saucers, definitive UFOs.
One of the missiles suddenly went offline, and then another and another, until the whole flight of missiles was somehow mysteriously deactivated.
This is highly disturbing because it suggests in the event that UFOs one day become hostile, our entire atomic arsenal may become completely inoperable.
Could it be that extraterrestrial beings are monitoring nuclear facilities here on Earth? But if so, why?
There are two reasons why UFOs might take an interest in atomic installations. One might be that they're concerned that we're going to destroy ourselves. They have a vested interest in keeping the human race alive. Or perhaps it's personal reasons and it's the planet they want. The other possibility is that they're fearful that we may develop far more advanced atomic weaponry and one day we will be their rival.
Nuclear weapons might represent the only technology humans have which would be capable of posing a threat to them.
Is it possible the technology of modern man has advanced to the point that humans are considered a threat by alien factions watching over the planet? Some ancient astronaut theorists are convinced that this is the case and suggest there is evidence that extraterrestrials used similar nuclear weapons right here on Earth thousands of years ago. The Great Sand Sea, North Africa. In the remote corner of the eastern Sahara Desert, along the border between Egypt and Libya, translucent pieces of a pale yellow-green glass lay scattered about for miles in every direction. This rare silicate compound, called Libyan desert glass, can only be formed by exposing the sand to extreme heat and pressure, like that generated by a meteor strike. But there are no visible signs of a suitable impact crater, nor can any be found using satellite imaging technology.
Libyan desert glass is thousands of years old, and one of the challenges is figuring out how that glass was formed. We know you need high heat, high temperatures, high pressure.
This yellowish green glass looks vitrified. In fact, it's strikingly similar to trinitite, the quartz-like glass that was created after the atomic explosion at the Trinity test site in New Mexico. And one wonders if the Libyan glass is also a remnant from a nuclear explosion.
And it is possible that nuclear blasts would have done it, but that would assume you had someone around with nuclear weapons.
Is it possible that the Libyan desert glass was formed by the detonation of a nuclear weapon thousands of years ago? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and claim evidence of such a powerful weapon being used is written in the texts of ancient Egypt.
In the ancient Egyptian story in which Horus avenges his brother Osiris's death, he flies up into the heavens in a winged disc. And in the heavens, he encounters the enemies of Osiris, and he chases them. And then Horus releases some kind of a terrible weapon that causes his enemies to first go blind and then deaf. This sounds like some devastating weapon that Horus unleashed. Is it possible that it was some kind of a nuclear weapon that he unleashed on them?
Could ancient Egypt really have been the site of nuclear warfare waged by extraterrestrial beings? If so, might this explain why there have been so many UFO sightings around nuclear missile facilities? Ancient astronaut theorists say that while it may be unclear whether extraterrestrials are concerned about protecting humans or protecting themselves, recent NASA findings provide evidence that planet Earth is being shielded from above.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition sequence start and liftoff.
Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, Florida, August 30th, 2012. NASA launches 2 probes into space in order to study the Van Allen radiation belts. A pair of donut-shaped particle zones that surround the Earth. After 2 years of collecting data, NASA scientists discover a surprising phenomenon. The Van Allen belts are operating as a protective dome, shielding the Earth from dangerous radiation.
Our planet is constantly flooded with particles from space that are charged that if they made it through the atmosphere would actually be quite damaging radiation to life. But because of the Van Allen belts and the combination of magnetic fields and charged particles already there, incoming charged particles are sent on curved paths that safely protect the Earth and we don't get hit by them.
The Van Allen radiation belt is one of the most phenomenal scientific phenomena to be discovered in recent times. One of the things that's so shocking about it is that it's changing and mutating as if it's intelligently directed.
The Van Allen belts may be an advanced technology that we still don't really understand. A technology that actually is blocking not just natural cosmic particles from the sun from coming in, but potentially protecting the Earth from extraterrestrial weapons that might use some sort of particle beam technology from ever being able to make its way in here.
Were the Van Allen belts designed by extraterrestrial beings to protect mankind from other hostile alien factions? Might there really be an extraterrestrial defense system protecting the Earth from attack? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest further evidence that there is an alien faction policing Earth's airspace can be found by examining modern-day UFO crashes. In 2005, UFO researcher Ryan Wood published a book chronicling 74 instances of strange objects falling from the sky dating back to 1897. As proof that these crashes took place, he cites official documents, eyewitness reports, and even physical evidence.
Ryan Wood's book, Magic Eyes Only, he lists all of these crashes, and I think the U.S. has been involved in the retrieval of the vast majority. It doesn't matter where they are. We had one crash north of Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada, and our regular people that go and investigate aerial crashes went out there and were greeted with American troops pointing guns at them. And they contacted Ottawa and were told, well, let the Americans have it.
We've had some great stories of crashes, Roswell, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. They're all over the place.
And you say to yourself, how could they crash when they have that kind of technology? You've got to wonder how extraterrestrials, with all of their advanced super technology, would then just crash. It would seem that something else is really going on here. Perhaps we have the extraterrestrials themselves battling it out over our skies.
Is it possible that even now, warring factions of extraterrestrial so-called gods are in fact duking it out over what happens on Earth? And wars that we see in ancient texts like the Mahabharata or the Bible could be still playing out in our skies as we speak.
Could we really be at the center of an extraterrestrial conflict that dates back to before the dawn of human civilization on Earth? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest that our survival may be dependent upon an ancient defense system that has existed for thousands of years, right beneath our feet. Yakutia, Russia, 1854. In a desolate region of Siberia, known as the Valley of Death, geographer and natural scientist Richard Karl Mach leads a scientific expedition of the Russian Geographical Society into the Vilyuy River Basin. In his journal, Mach writes that he and his team encountered several large and mysterious metallic objects embedded in the earth that the local hunters referred to as cauldrons. Additional accounts were reported throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries. According to descriptions, these large metallic domes that protrude from the ground each measure between 20 and 30 feet in diameter. Their existence is also supported by the legends of the local Yakut people, who say that over the years, the cauldrons would periodically open up and send fireballs into the sky.
What happens is that an object would fly out from under the ground and intercept an incoming celestial body. Be it a bolide, meteor, anything that can really damage our planet. It's like somebody put in an automatic station programmed to take out a celestial body that can cause us tremendous damage and maybe to end life on Earth.
On June 30th, 1908, a fireball was seen streaking across the sky over the Tunguska River in rural Siberia, followed by a massive explosion. It was the same area where these mysterious sunken cauldrons are said to be located. 20 years later, when the Soviet military examined the area, they reported finding flattened trees for miles around the blast site, but no crater.
A Soviet military officer came up with an idea, Alexander Kazantsev, in 1940s, that this was an alien ship, a UFO that came into the atmosphere of our planet and exploded. Others took up this idea, but where he came up with it, it's very hard to say, because secrecy is all over Russia.
Is it possible the cauldrons serve as a type of anti-aircraft weapon against space-based threats?
If it's possible that the Earth has been equipped with some sort of hyper-advanced technology that is actually keeping us all safe, and that whoever won these ancient extraterrestrial wars, who may in fact be our progenitors, put that there so that their offspring would be protected from whoever their enemies had been many thousands of years ago.
Some ancient astronaut theorists suggest that if there is an extraterrestrial conflict over humanity, it may be due to the fact that certain alien factions consider humans a threat. They propose that the point mankind has reached today is predicted in the same Sanskrit texts that documented these ancient alien wars.
Ancient Hindu texts tell us that we are in the very last of 4 stages of the planet. And that stage is called Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga is a time of strife and terrible activities and of evil. And it may be that the extraterrestrials are really monitoring us to see how we can handle this very stressful period.
There are conflicts in the skies. There are different species with different agendas. I'm sure that we are regarded as a potential threat. They would assume that eventually we'll be traveling around the cosmos, and it's something that must go through their collective minds, that these are warlike people, and consequently we're going to have to keep an eye on them. Now, for the first time, I think that the future of the species is at stake. That's how deeply I feel. There are lessons to be learned, and we have to learn them. Now, we have to learn them very, very quickly.
Is it possible that extraterrestrial beings have been fighting for control of planet Earth for thousands of years? And could the outcome of this dispute ultimately be determined not by the alien combatants, but by humans? Perhaps we are on the verge of reaching a defining moment in our evolution, a turning point that will lead either to our ascension or our extermination.